Well, welcome everyone. I'm Miles.
I'm Dave.
And we're here to do a review of Bolt Action version 2, a 28mm scale tactical simulation of World War II combat, published in 2016. And as with past reviews, there will be 5 weighted categories you can see on the screen now that we look at these rules with.
So one of the first categories that we have is presentation. For presentation, the things I like about this book, it's extremely well done, it's polished. The fact that it comes from Osprey Games means that it has a whole host of photographs and artwork that they can pull from those books. So artistically, it's a very beautiful book. It has one thing that I don't like about it. It has an awful lot of charts that are all packed together. And for me, it's just visually very kind of confusing and crowded.
Again, I agree that the artwork is superb and the diagrams are quite clear. It is very wordy. It is a very verbose rule book for actually what is a very simple game.
Right.
So it can be a little daunting at first to go through, and I find I get confused. And I've played this game a lot. I think I may have played maybe 60 games of this in tournaments and other things, both version 1 and version 2. And I still struggle finding things in the rule book, and I'm not particularly stupid. For presentation, I gave it a 7.
I was a little bit higher. I gave it an 8.
Our next category is playability. It's one of the 2 big ones. I find myself quite mixed about it. This is a great gateway game, and in fact I think a lot of players, one of their first introductions currently into historical gaming is Bolt Action, as they look for something different outside of 40K and some of the fantasy games.
It is very much geared for someone making that transition from either fantasy or from science fiction type of gaming into World War II. And they do tend to keep things a little bit more simple and gamey as opposed to more historical. But as far as playability go, I think it is playable, and I think you can pick it up fairly fast. So I actually gave it a 7.
All right. I'm not that far off. I gave it a 6. You can pick it up fast, but it's also kind of vanilla. And outside of tournament play, this is not a game I would say I want to play on a Monday night at the club all that often.
So the third category is mechanics. If you look at the game, the mechanics are fairly simple. You basically pull the dice out of the beret, so to speak. And
you can use something else other than a beret. You don't have to use a beret.
I mean, I do like games like that because you never know what's coming out of that bag, but it can determine the flow of the game, especially if you get a bad run of luck or a good run of luck, depending on which side of it you're on. And then you activate those units depending on how they come out of the hat.
And once you activate it, it's a 6-sided dice. You can do one of 6 things. You can fire, you can advance and fire, you can run, which is a double move. You can rally, you can go down, take cover. There's things you can do, or you can put your unit on ambush. One of the things I do like is units on ambush. You actually have some ability to interrupt. But the game is a D6 game. Everything's based on a 2-hit. You roll to hit, then you roll damage, and there are a bunch of modifiers. That you go up, you go down, each turn you go, the game is actually simple, but there are an awful lot of modifiers you have to remember each turn.
And in the shooting phase, again, it might be different depending on what game you play, but I felt that shooting was not overly effective. We were fighting veterans, and of course, if you're fighting veterans, you almost always needed a 5 or 6, and then they get a save on top of that almost.
Yeah. Well, the way it works is there's 3 classes of troops. Right. I like that. There's veterans, regulars, and inexperienced. The hit numbers are actually not modified by the class. The saves are. So you roll to hit, and then a veteran you hit on a kill on a 5 or 6, a regular 4, 5 or 6, and an experience. And so true quality is important in a pointed game, and this thing is designed for tournament type play. That actually, the veterans cost more. But again, it's kind of tournament play, kind of gamey in the mechanics. Close combat is bloody, and if you roll well, you really love it. If you don't roll well, you don't have a unit on the table. And so again, I think it's a little simplistic.
In the part that I noticed right away is the idea that if you beat the other squad by just 1 casualty, you kill them all.
Yeah, they're all gone. And one of the great things about the game is the most effective unit for a long time was the Japanese Bamboo Squad, who were very cheap, were fanatics, and would always win an assault. And so, again, it's a gamey aspect of that. They try to represent troops. It's just not, I don't get a true feel of modern kind of combat tactics with this game. I feel like I'm playing 40K in olive drab. So what'd you give it as a score?
For my mechanics, I gave it a 5.
I also gave it a 5. Our fourth category is historical flavor. This is a tough one. Now, when you buy the rule book, you get kind of generic lists for all the major combatants. And then there are army books that you can buy that have more detailed units, usually more types of armor. And so if you wanted to field a full army, you've got to buy this book and then its corresponding army book. And so there's a bit of a codex creep. The tanks themselves are all pretty generic. You've got light, medium, and heavy tanks. Again, this is a type of game where tanks aren't all that effective because they cost a lot of points in a point game. The historical flavor is pretty bland to me.
Yeah, for the historical flavor, I mean, the base rules have some generic lists that you can use. You buy the extra army books in order to get access to the other stuff. But even with the flavor rules that they have, it doesn't really make a huge difference between them. And even the difference between a Bren and an MG42 is, what, a dice?
Dice. Well, it's a German special rule, but all light machine guns are light machine guns. And so there's just, it's very generic. And so this is one where, my score was probably the most severe. I gave it a 4 for historical flavor.
Yeah, I gave it a 5, and I think the tactical thing also comes into that. It's not just the army lists and the weapons, but for me, it just doesn't give you the feel of how you would think a World War II game should play. The last category is support, and for me, when I look at it, I'm not just looking at the paper products that they give you, but the web content and also the miniatures. And the one thing that they do offer is all of that. They have some great 28mm box sets and blister packs that you can buy. They have a great website that has additional information, historical information, painting guides, and so I rated them fairly high in this category.
Yeah, I agree. I think Warlord actually does a great job supporting this product and also making it easy for someone new to the hobby to find everything they need to field an army. You actually can buy starter boxes where you can get Americans and Germans or whatever. So yeah, one of the things when I first started this hobby, it was bewildering how to actually build an army for whatever rule set. Warlord's done a really nice job kind of laying that out, and I think as we try to grow the hobby, that's something I'd love to see other manufacturers also do. And so I think hats off to that. The website is well done. The products are available. They ship fast.
Right.
I'm actually quite pleased with the support. I wish other people had this level of support. This was my highest score. I gave it an 8.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 also.
Now it's time for our final review. One thing that we should always ask ourselves in these things is would you buy these rules? The rules there's a wide range of pricing. Because it's an Osprey book. You can buy it direct from the manufacturer for $40 for the version 2 rule book. You can find it on Amazon and other discount shops as cheap as $17. And for the book, you probably need 2 codexes if you build 2 different armies. So it's probably me to buy the book. It's probably $40 bucks plus or minus if you buy them on the discount sites. I think that's actually a fairly reasonable price.
Yeah, I think either end of it, you're fine. I mean, for what people pay for a video game these days.
Yeah.
But I would definitely buy on Amazon.
So, Dave, what was your final score?
If you do the math right, mine comes up to a 62.
I think I did the math right. I came out a little more conservative. I came out with a 56.
What are you guys reviewing?
Nothing. Nothing, Keith.
What are you reviewing?
Nothing.
Oh, bolt action.
I'm sorry.
To say about this one. All right, where do we start?
So, Keith, do you have some opinions about bolt action? Now that we've handled this situation, I encourage the viewers to leave comments in the bottom of this video, or go to our website, littlewarstv.com, and tell us what you think.
And you can see what this guy says.
Don't.